All right, welcome to the Max Effort Kitchen podcast. This is an Eat Well, Live Well episode, and I am Matt. This is Sarah. Sarah, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. I got sleeping this morning, which I love.
I love that.
I know, right?
Mhm.
When you get more than like 7 hours, you're like, oh, what a treat. I
Yeah,
can get 8, but sometimes I can get 9 or almost 10 hours and I'm feeling good.
yeah. I think there's a good. I have a sweet spot where it's like, 7 is great for me. Anything over probably 9 hours, I am a monster.
Monster.
I'm grumpy. I'm groggy. I'm like, my body doesn't know what to do with this much sleep. Hey,
Mm.
but that's also probably a sign that I need more sleep in life. So, I look at it both ways.
Yeah. It's just that maybe your circadian rhythm and you woke up in the wrong part of your cycle and your
Yeah.
body's
Yeah.
like, no, we didn't start right. No.
Oh, I love it. We've got a pretty awesome show today. Live or eat well, live well. I don't know about you, but I keep swapping those two words, but I think I've got it. This
Yeah.
is a once a month show. We hope to in the future make it a little bit more. And I really enjoy these shows because they really break down a lot of a lot of myths, a lot of things that we need to do on a regular basis. Sorry,
Mhm.
getting my words out this morning. And the understanding of like how we eat and how it impacts life. And I think that right there comes at such a value because, I live in the world of athletics and sports and from all ages, from my kids up. And I think that as a person that lives in that world, it's sometimes to step out and be like, there's people out there that don't live in that world and they need to understand this stuff too. And so this show is great
Mhm.
because I love the way we put things in place for anybody to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I feel like, I mean, we both done our research, but we're not like PhDs, and so I mean, I've listened to like the Huberman podcast and
Hmm.
some of the other ones, and they are very sciencey, which I appreciate. And as I'm watching it, I'm like, how many people are like taking in and understanding all that they're saying? They're talking about all these different, very specific types of cells and what they're doing, what they're secreting, and like it's just like I mean, I appreciate it, but like having a
Hmm.
middle ground where it's like we're bringing science to you, but it's not in like the super elevated level. It's in like this middle range. So,
Yeah, I like that too because I learned something pretty early on in the food world, which was the idea of being a professional in your realm,
mhm.
and how to communicate it so people can understand. And I
Mm,
I do okay. So I've listened to Huberman. I've listened to there's a couple weightlifting podcasts that are really scientific, and personally, and this is just a personal opinion, it's hard for me to stay engaged when, and now this is going to sound funny, but when too many big words are being used.
oh, for
So,
sure.
yeah, yeah. No, so I'm like, I understand them to a certain point, but when I have to like Google what a word means, I'm like, okay, at that point, you lost my engagement in the show, and so you're right. We stick around the middle ground, and this,
Mhm.
and I don't want to put a label on the type of people that listen to it, but like everybody gets a little something, and that's what's so great about this show.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
agree.
So, excuse me, sorry, right mid
You're
drink.
you're good,
This is the fun about with live shows, right? Today,
right?
yeah, today we're going
Live
to
on air.
talk. Here, let me gulp in the microphone for you. Um, we're going to talk about protein today, and I love this because it works in so many aspects of my world. And
Mhm.
you are going to bring the idea of what it is, and so I think that it's just a great way to start. Let's talk about what protein is and why we need it. Um, tell me everything you know.
Yes. Protein. If we think about that, we are a 3D printer and the source is what we eat. What makes us like physically formed is protein.
Yes.
So it makes up our bones, it makes up our muscles, obviously, I feel like people think about muscle repair, but it makes up our skin, and it's actually part of all the neurotransmitters and hormones, the parts within our body that are functioning. They need a vessel to carry them to places.
Yeah.
So protein is part of that as well. And protein is made up of amino acids. So that's the very small level of what makes protein. And there's 20 of them, and different combinations of them make different structures of our bodies.
Right.
So protein is the building blocks of us.
Yeah.
And we
That's
need them to keep preparing ourselves because we're constantly breaking down, or like our skin replenishes and sloughs off. That's what dust is, right? And so we need to keep replacing it with more material.
I like that. And somebody said to me a long time ago, it was a chef instructor, and he broke it down like, hey, protein are our Legos. Like they are Legos, and they are our Legos in our body. And the one thing that sticks out to me when I think protein is growth. Like you said, it helps us grow better skin. It helps us grow muscle. It helps us when you're young, it helps you grow. It gives you good immune support. It gives you energy, and energy helps you grow. So it's not only supportive, but it's our building blocks. I think that was a really good way of explaining it. And the reason why I liked it is because we all know that, like, okay, so you look at a Lego, right? And it has all the parts on it.
The holes and the caps or whatever. Yeah.
Those are your amino acids, right? And so he would take it, and the way we did it was, he was like, we're going to create a complete protein. So he would label one of them like, this is a legume. This is a whole grain. We're going to put these together, and then we're going to smash something on top and make it one. And that was a complete protein. And so to me, that made a whole, like, that really registered in my brain. And I mean, protein cannot, I don't know if protein can do bad. Like, in your opinion, is there such thing as bad protein?
When I was in school in anatomy, I learned that your body will make energy no matter what you eat. So if you eat all meat, it can make energy out of it. If we think about glucose is the energy kind of food for us, but like if you only eat fat, it can convert it into energy. If you only eat protein, but there's byproducts of making protein into energy, and it is ammonia. So in our body, it will make our bodies more acidic and have a buildup of fat, which is harder on our kidneys. So like that would be my only thing, is like, if you have too much protein, your body's going to have a little bit more of that. So
interesting. I didn't know that aspect of it. So it creates the byproduct of it is ammonia. Is that why teenagers stink so bad?
Those are raging hormones.
Okay. Yeah, I figured. I thought that might have something to do with it, but when you think ammonia, you think like this. Like, to me, the first thing that comes is like the smell of it, right? Like, nobody likes the smell of ammonia. But what you're talking about is it's something your body has to break down, and it's a harder thing on you said kidney, right?
And just the whole system, but like, your kidneys and your liver are your filtering system of your blood, and so the ammonia is going to go into your blood, and so it has to get it out somehow.
That makes total sense. Now, I had a little. I took an adventure this week, and I'm trying to do this thing, and I learned a little bit. So I'm gonna tell a little story here. I tried to do this thing, or I'm trying to get my weight at a certain marker. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm getting ready for a competition, and I want to be at a certain weight for it. And so I'm a little low on the scale, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to this amazing spot in Portland. It's called the Sports and Nutrition Center. Not a plug, just telling you guys, if you live in Portland, go to this place. It is a locally owned person, and she is super knowledgeable on pretty much anything you want to know when it comes to putting stuff in your body, She's fantastic. But anyways, I walk in and I say, hey, I want to gain like probably 4 pounds in the next 3 weeks. Is there a supplement in here? Is there a protein powder that would help me do that? And she looked at me and she goes, no matter what protein, synthetic protein you take, it's going to bring the same amount of calories. You're not going to gain weight off of protein. So I said, okay. She's like, but what you can do is eat more food. I was like, that I am doing, I'm I'm definitely eating a lot of food right now. I go, but I just need something to support. I go, I'm getting to a point where I'm putting food in my mouth and it's not enjoyable. And so she was like, okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to start with a beef protein. And this is a protein that has natural, the enzymes, or I'm sorry, the amino acids that a beef protein has, and also eggs. And so what that will do is that will stick around in your belly a little bit longer, allow you to process it at a slower rate, which will help with the faux gain weight, right? And it was interesting because I said, okay, that's cool, but what if I wanted to gain weight? And she goes, well, then you would go towards a meal replacement, which is all about calories and not about protein. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I tell this story is because I think there's a misconception out there that you drink a bunch of protein or you eat a bunch of protein, you're going to gain a bunch of weight. And that's not necessarily true.
Right.
I mean, what do you think about that? What have you ever had any of your clients come to you and be like, oh, I don't want to drink protein or eat a bunch of protein because I'm going to get big?
I mean, that was me. I feel like before I was learning about nutrition, was like, I don't want to get bulky, like
yeah.
that whole thing. It's actually very hard to put on muscle mass and to get bulky. That is really hard. It takes months and months and months of consistent resistance training, plus hitting high protein levels to keep building the muscles.
Correct.
So that is the first thing that came to my mind when you said that. But yeah, just the nutrition coach, game of weight loss or gaining muscle is you have to have extra calories to build anything. So if you aren't resistance training and making your body build muscle, your body will put the extra calories somewhere else, which would be fat.
Yeah.
But if you're training, your body's like, great, now I have this extra material. I've been trying to build this quad over here, for a while. Let's just put this energy over here and making this bigger so he stops micro tearing it every time he exercises, right?
Yeah.
So you have to have extra to build muscle. And if you're not training in the proper way, when you have extra, then you get fat. Vice versa. If you want to break down, if you want to be smaller, you have to cut out calories. So I feel like the tango of recompositioning your body is kind of the weird middle ground where you are in a calorie restriction, but you have high protein and you're doing high resistance training to build your muscle. All the extra goes to the muscle and your body's actually having to kind of liquefy your fat to get more energy into building that up because you've been training it so hard. So
that's really interesting. That's really good advice. Or just information, because like you said, I think we've all been there. I've been there before where I'm like, yeah, I don't do protein shakes or I don't do meat protein because it makes me too big. That's not true.
Right.
And I mean, speaking of somebody who is well over 40 years old, the rapid decrease in muscle mass is something I'm always fighting. And so, taking in consideration the proteins you're getting and the proteins you're taking in, but also now this is a question for you because I actually don't know this, which is is there an equation based off of your age, your weight, and, that will tell you how much protein you need to take for what you're doing?
Yes.
There is.
There is. Yeah. I couldn't tell you right now because there's all kinds of different decimals, but it's in my the material that I got for my training is I would be like, okay, Matt, I need your height and your weight and your age and your activity level, how often you're training and what type of training, and I plug that in and it will give me a grams of protein that you should be consuming a day.
I like that. Now, if anybody out there hears that and wants to know, what you should do is you should contact Sarah and become a client. That was a plug.
I can help you with that.
Yes, because she has that information, and we pay people to do things that we don't need to focus on, and that's the whole thing. That's what you're doing is you're creating a platform to where people can come to you and really focus on their health, nutrition, exercise, and all that stuff. So you can do the stuff that they don't need to focus on, because coming from somebody who is a super multitasker, I know that when you have 25 things going on and trying to focus on all 25 things of those, your quality of work is going to decrease. And so allow Sarah to do it for you, right?
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
sort of like the nutrition coach part is like I'm crunching numbers. And so working with clients, like you can adjust your macronutrients of protein, carbohydrates, and fats to like the person's lifestyle. And so, and like their goal. So depending how they exercise, how they feel, how they like to eat, what their goal is, their timing of their goal, like all of that is like numbers that I'm crunching and adjusting from like week to week for people.
Yeah,
So
that's cool.
let me do the math for you.
No, awesome. You want to okay, Stu, do you have you have the ability to do that? So I was just going to ask you if you had the ability to do that on air, but I don't want to put you on the spot.
No,
If not,
actually, I don't have
okay.
it pulled up. I need to pull up my material. I would say that I'm going to be some dead
Maybe
time.
maybe next time we'll have you kind of do a little teaser and do it on, or do a panel or whatever I'm sorry, whatever you call it, and do one on me. Make me a
Yeah,
case study and see
do
what
that.
it comes out as. I think it'd be
Yeah.
fun. But back to proteins. Sorry, got a little sidetracked there.
And it-
Back to protein. So, if somebody wanted to get more protein, in your opinion, what's the best way to do it?
I
Where
would
to
say
start?
what was that?
I said, where would they start? I guess is
Where
what
would
I'm
they
trying to.
start?
Yeah,
And the easiest one I would say is a protein shake.
yeah,
That is the easiest and high quality normally, and they'll have all of the essential amino acids in it to have complete protein.
cool.
So that is, I feel like, an easy one and a quick one. I would
Now,
say don't buy just any protein powder. Definitely
yeah,
research.
that was my follow up.
Yeah.
That was my follow. I had a coach one time tell me that, like, when you're buying protein shakes, when you're buying any kind of synthetic supplement and you're putting it in your body, but most importantly, protein shakes, look at the ingredients. And if you can pronounce 90% of what's on there, probably a pretty good product.
Yes.
But if you look at it and you're like, I can't pronounce any of this, this looks like a science experiment, maybe move away from it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, I mean, in its simplest form, it's whey protein, which is like a dairy protein, like pulled from the milk and concentrated into this powder, right?
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be a cocktail of things other than maybe the whey protein, some salt. There usually is like a stabilizer of some kind that helps keep it, in powder form. And then like a flavoring. And like the more simple you keep it, the better, the less likely there's hidden things in it. So like a chocolate or vanilla, I feel like it's pretty basic and you don't have to throw a bunch of ingredients together. But when you get into like Lucky Charms flavored or even cream, like you're gonna get extra things in there, which is fine. Like, but just be mindful about the amount of synthetics that are going to be in that to make those flavors.
Yeah, and that's really good advice. So, I mean, I know of a couple brands, but we're not sponsored by anybody. So
Nope.
the On brand it just says On on it. That's a really good brand. It has like nine ingredients, and I really like that. And it's very transferable across all ages and exercise levels. But the one thing that I have started looking at is on most protein shakes, they will list out all the amino acids. And that is a big portion of it, and start to learn these amino acids. I do not have them memorized.
Me neither.
I know that to create a complete protein, you need the 9 essentials, and and this is with food. And so it could be different on the other side of things, but with food specifically, because we're going to make a transition from shakes to food, because I think there are foods out there that are complete proteins.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
one myth I want to really completely squash is the idea that your dietary restrictions are going to restrict the amount of protein you can get in, because it's not true. And I'm just going to use meat eaters and vegetarians as an example. You can get complete proteins in both sides of things. I would say, if you're a vegetarian and you're trying to find ways to get protein in your body that have the essential amino acids, there's one aspect, or there's one dish that I would stick to as a core foundation, and that's beans and rice.
Mm-hmm.
Let me rephrase that: beans and brown rice. Those two combined give you the absolute amino acids that you need to create protein. Now, the consumption of it is a little different, because like 100 grams of chicken is about, I think it's roughly 30 to 31 proteins, or 30 to 31 grams of protein. But say you're going towards like lentils. Lentils is only like 9 grams of protein. So, the one thing you got to remember is the consumption rate. Like, you got to be able to take that into your equation of actually building the right amount of proteins that you need on a daily basis. And everybody's different because we all have different bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my favorite. And this is something I do all the time. It's a consistent lunch of mine. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Now, the actual complete protein is peanut butter and whole wheat toast. It's
Mm-hmm.
the legume and the grain. That makes the protein. The jelly is just, I like a little sweetness. I like a little sugar, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
But I will often eat 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and some fruit for lunch. And that's a consistent, like, I'm on the go at work and I have everything I need in the kitchen to make that. And I'll put that down really quick and just keep moving. What about you? Like, when you're going to get your protein, and you're looking at what you're eating, like what is your go-to meal?
Well, depending on the time of day,
Yes.
breakfast is hard for me. I'm making a shift because of something I recently learned about starting your day. So I'm trying to get not sweet breakfast protein in, which I
Mm,
feel is hard. For me, no carbs or low carbs. But during the day, my favorite's chicken. Like, I feel
yeah.
like you can dress it up in so many ways, and it can be ground, and it can be chicken thighs, and it can be chicken tenders, and
Yeah. Oh
all
yeah.
the different things. So chicken is my favorite, I feel like. And it's relatively clean, for the most part, like at a cheaper rate, and it's more affordable than, say, beef or steak. So chicken is my
Hmm.
favorite, my go-to when I'm at the grocery store.
And that's a
Yeah.
good one. Now let me go back to something you just said, which is you were talking about starting your day.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about that a little bit? Because I'm
Okay.
interested.
So the importance of a protein breakfast, it has to do with like the satiety and hunger machine in our metabolism. So when you're fasting and you break your fast overnight, if you put something in that's really high in carbs, like most of our traditional American breakfasts, an oatmeal, a cereal, a cinnamon roll, a muffin, croissant, all of those, they're
Hmm.
going to spike your blood sugar, and then it's
Hmm.
going to spike your insulin. And then you start this roller coaster of, my blood sugar's high, I have to throw the insulin at it, and then the insulin does a really good job, and then your blood sugar's low, and you're starving, and you have to eat something, and then it goes back up, and then it goes back
Yeah.
down. Right? So if you eat a savory breakfast, you get a slight bump, and then it stays steady. So rather than starting your spike at like 7 a.m., you could wait until maybe noon for your lunch, when you have something else, and you haven't like broken your fast with carbs. You've already had your system metabolizing other things like proteins and fats.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to eat like chicken sausage in the morning. I've been making my own like seasoning and throwing it in ground chicken and just cooking it up that way. It's higher protein, less fat, it tastes great. And then I usually will do like a chia seed and like Greek yogurt parfait with some fruit on it. Mm-hmm.
I need like a little dinger because every time you say something, that's a complete protein. Ding.
Yeah. Protein. Yeah. So that's what I've been like. I feel like focusing on my breakfast these days. That it's easy enough and it's tasty.
Yeah.
Because I used to be an oatmeal girly, and that's great. You know, if you're gonna run right afterwards and burn up that sugar.
Correct. Yes.
If
I
you're
just
not,
learned about that.
yeah.
I was under the impression that protein was, and this is a very old saying, but it was like oatmeal will stick to your ribs. Like it's a good morning breakfast. It'll stick. My mom used to say that it'll stick to your ribs. It'll keep you nourished. But really, it spikes your insulin levels and it gets you to a point where you don't, like you said, a big roller coaster. That's a good way to explain it. Now, let me ask you this. Being the food person that I am, I'm going to ask you, what about eggs?
I do like eggs.
Okay.
I'm a convenient person in the morning, and I don't often like cook breakfast on my normal days. On like a weekend where I feel like a little slower, I might make some like eggs and like a piece of toast and some fruit, you know. But in the regular mornings, I have my pre-cooked sausage that I food prepped, and I just like heat it up. And
I like that. I like that you're food prepping too. That's a big part of nutrition, don't you think? Is the preparation of eating. And part of preparation of eating is building convenient factors in order to get the right amount of protein or nutrition into your body. And I think that what we, as a society, as people, it's really easy to grab something that's convenient rather than what's healthy. And if we don't prepare ourselves with that that healthy and convenient stuff, then we're already setting ourselves back.
That is one of the biggest things that I will tell people who are trying to make a change, just to start eating better and make slight modifications in their health, is like food prep. Like take an hour on a Saturday or Sunday if you can, because I feel like weeknights are hard, or week mornings, but like, and just like sheet pan prep some roasted vegetables, cook some chicken thighs or ground chicken, and one other thing, like a breakfast of some kind, maybe little parfaits, and have those ready for you to make good choices. Otherwise, like, knowing what I know and how I'm supposed to fuel my body, I still will pick the convenient thing if I have it food prepped.
Yeah. I mean, it is really important. And it's like, the importance of it is in the name, food prep. You're preparing yourself to, make good choices. And we all have the ability to make choices, right? And we deal with either the reward or the consequence of it, or sometimes there's both. But as far as food goes, we have so much control about what we put in our body. And I do like to point out that there are a lot of people out there giving different informations about what you should eat and what you shouldn't eat. I saw this Instagram post the other day that was really interesting. It had a woman sitting there, and it looks like she just got done working out and she's getting ready to go eat like what was it, or drink a protein shake, and this little bubble pops up and it's like an influencer being like, you should never drink protein shakes, and so she puts it down. And then she grabs a piece of fruit, and then it's like another one comes up and it's like, never put fruit in your body. It's bad for you. And I'm like, so I guess what I'm leading to is there is a lot of information out there, especially in the social media world. The best way to go is to find somebody that is a trained professional and that understands that everybody is unique and everybody has a unique lifestyle, and that all has a very big impact on what you eat, and it should. And so, like, having somebody do that for you rather than just following, influencers online, whether there is good information or bad information, that's not for me to say. But what I am saying is, like, you as a person are unique to how you eat, and there are some blanket statements we can put out there, but as far as food goes, like why not use food as a way to create there's a word I'm looking for right now, but I'm blanking on the word. It's like just to be efficient, to perform your here's a saying, your best life.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
protein is part of that. Protein
Yeah.
needs to be huge in that equation. And so, we've talked about eggs, we've talked about beans and rice, we've talked about peanut butter and jelly sandwich, fruit, Greek yogurt and berries, fish and rice. There is so many things out there that you can make, especially ahead of time, that will set you up. So
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about towards the end of the day. Now, what do you know about like time of protein? Because there's some big myths out there on when you should consume it.
Mm-hmm.
I had somebody ask me the other day, and I told them I wasn't going to answer it. Well, should you have protein 30 minutes after working out? And I was like, I can't answer that because I don't know what protein
Right.
you're talking about. I don't know so what do you know about that?
So in NASM, which is where I'm certified through, they actually were quoting studies about this topic, and I thought it was very fascinating. So they had people who ate big chunk of protein like twice a day. They had people who had little amounts of protein throughout the day, and they had like a medium group. And the medium group actually had the most muscle growth. And it was essentially the science behind it is you want to keep your muscle machine going. And so 30 grams or 20 grams of protein is the amount that will get it going. 10 is not enough to get protein synthesis triggered. So 20 is what you need. And if you can do that, and then it lasts for about 3 hours that your body's making protein, and then hit it again with another 20 grams, it will keep making muscle.
Awesome.
For that thing you asked about, like right after your workout, they were essentially saying what matters most is the timing throughout the day. So if you can keep it going, that'll be more impactful versus like I hit my right after my workout protein hit, but then I don't eat protein till dinner time. Like that's not as important, right?
Yeah.
So the timing throughout the day and the right amount and the total amount in the day being appropriate for your activity level, age, and weight will be the most impactful thing versus just hitting your 45-minute after the workout thing.
Well, that's really good to know because, like I was saying before, there's a lot of myths out there, and when you were just talking about that, what I'm hearing is, and my body likes to process and kind of build synopsis. I can't talk this morning. You know what I'm talking about. Yes. Yeah. So, but it's balance. Is creating balance and not just consuming a whole bunch of protein at once and then saying, okay, I got my protein in for the day, I'm done. Yeah. It's more about your, creating areas of protein throughout your day, really easy to start with the first three meals of your day. I would say it's pretty okay that I say that most people eat 3 meals a day, and so start there. And then what I like to do is you got 3 tick marks. Okay, let's go and split the difference on both of them. Let's put some protein in the middle of those two and see how our body reacts. It's to me, that completely makes sense. So there's something that I like to do, which is I like to, obviously I like to food prep, but I like to put myself in situations of convenience, like we talked about, which is I have protein bars in my office. I have protein bars in my car. I have shakes at home. Yes, you got to have car snacks. For someone who drives a lot for work, I'm telling you, there's nothing more frustrating than driving around and being like, where do I go? Where I need to eat so bad. I'm famished. Where do I eat? Because you know what ends up happening? bad choices.
Bad choices.
I stop at the convenient McDonald's or I stop at Taco Bell and I'm like, okay, I'm just getting calories and I'm justifying it as I'm eating it in the car,
Yeah.
shamefully in some weird parking lot. I promise this
Yeah.
has never happened.
Uh,
Yeah. But being able to set yourself up with those kind of things, and I say protein bars because those are very convenient, and they most of them start at about 20 grams of protein, and so it's a quick snack until you can get to your meal.
mhm.
But it's also adding protein into your body, so you're creating this like river of protein going through your day. And I
Yes.
think that is so important for growth, for hormone production, for immune support, for energy. I've even heard, and maybe you can, I don't know if you know much about this, but the neurotransmitter, the dopamine and serotonin
Mhm.
aspect of protein. Do you know much about that?
Well, just that like all the neurotransmitters are made out of protein. So like if
Ah,
you're not getting enough protein, your body has to spread this small amount that you're eating into all the function of keeping your body structured with bones and muscles and also making neurotransmitters. So you're probably not going to be building muscle because the neurotransmitters are more important than your,
correct.
biceps. So
Right. This is very true. You know, so let me ask you this, because if somebody that's not doesn't exercise very regularly is and they look at you and they're saying, do I need to get more protein in my body? What would you tell them in that sense? If they were like, I try to exercise a little bit, but I'm very inconsistent.
yeah,
Is protein a good thing for me? What would you say to them?
I would say you probably do need more protein.
Okay.
All of us benefit from having protein in our body and our diet, and especially people who are older need more
Yeah.
protein because we're
Correct.
losing like 3 to 8% of our muscle mass with each decade after 40. So
Yeah.
if you're not resistance training and you're not eating protein, it's melting away.
Yeah.
So I would say you need more protein. And that's because like our muscles are the most expensive thing in our body for our body to maintain.
Yeah.
So if you're not putting in protein, it's like, well, it's going to liquefy this. We don't need this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I would say, yes, everyone needs more protein. They have like a calculator for how much you need. And it's really a small amount. And it's like barely enough to like keep you functioning, like
Hmm.
doing all the things we just talked about, your neurotransmitters and your muscles and like keeping your body functioning. If you want to be thriving, you need to have more. And if you want to be healthy, because muscle is the like organ of longevity, as they're saying right now. Like
Correct.
they're talking about how yes, obesity isn't great, but if you have muscle mass, like you will live longer than someone who is skinny and has lower, like muscle mass. So like
Yeah. And
it,
coming from somebody who, this is completely a side tangent. I love vampires because they live forever. If I had a superpower, it would be to live forever, and that's partially why I'm so obsessive about exercise and lifting and doing something. I look at my kids and I say to them, I don't care what you do as long as you do something extra outside of your school,
Mhm.
and that as we're a big sports family, so that has led to sports, and that's something that I grew up knowing, which is being active and being either an athlete or some sort of exercise of some nature. And I've done a lot of different stuff, but like for me, I want to live as long as I possibly can. You know,
Mhm.
I want to see my kids grow. I want to, enjoy. I look forward to. Now, I don't think my kids are watching. I look forward to the point where they're out of the house and I get to spend quality time with my wife, like,
Mhm.
because,
Mhm.
we're putting in all these years of raising kids, but like, let's enjoy that. But the only way to enjoy those times is if we're eating the right amount of food, taking in the right amount of exercise, creating longevity in our life. And
Mhm.
protein is a big part of longevity in your life. Like you got to have this nutrition part in order to build the muscle, in
Mhm.
order to live longer. It
Longer.
all
Yeah.
snowballs, right?
It really does. Yeah. And I feel like with our current foodscape, there is less protein and more carbs and fat. So
Yes, yes, yes.
you have to be mindful about your protein.
You
And
really do.
yeah, I
Yeah,
say,
and I mean,
like for
it's easy.
women, the palm of your hand and
Yeah.
the thickness of your hand, that's one serving of meat. For men, it's two palms. In a meal,
Oh,
that's how much, like on your plate, that's what it should look like. That's a serving of meat. Yeah, you're like, wait,
yes.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
like that.
an easy measuring stick for I feel like knowing if you're getting enough protein in a meal is use your palm of your hand.
That is that's a solid pro tip right there. And I have never heard that, but I love it. And so I mean I always do double scoops of my protein. So maybe it's like I don't know. But anyways, that is a fantastic pro tip. Thank you for sharing that, because I
Absolutely.
think if anybody takes anything from this, take that, because you don't need to do anything. You just look at your hand. That's how much protein I need. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Um, I
Yeah.
like
When you're at a restaurant, you can look at your plate and be like, oh, yep, that's about right amount of protein. I'm good. Like
yeah.
an
Unless
easy
you're at
measuring
like the
stick. They'll take
Cheesecake
you
Factory.
everywhere.
Don't eat at the Cheesecake Factory. I'm sorry. Recently had an experience there. The portions are huge.
They're
Stop.
huge.
You just got to stop with these huge portions. Anyways, that is a complete tangent. I'm not going to go down that road.
Yeah.
But just, I guess, we're at 41 minutes, and
Mm.
I want to say, make good choices, do your preparation, and get out there and find a professional if you're struggling, or if you're not struggling and you just want to optimize. That was the word I was looking for earlier. If you want to optimize your health, if you want to live longer, if you want to be around for a good amount of time, and see kids grow and be with loved ones, take the time now. Like, there's no bad time. So if you're like, I don't know, it's too late for me. No, today's
Mm-mm.
the first step.
Mhm.
Get a hold of people. Get a hold of Sarah. She's fantastic at what she does. And take the time to find the right tools to create success. And that's one thing that can be spanned across anything you do. If
Mhm.
you have the right tools to create a foundation of success, you will be empowered to do more. And
Mhm.
I think a lot of times people just don't have the right tools. And you are a perfect person for nutrition. And we just went down a whole deep dive of protein. So, like, if you couldn't tell, Sarah kind of knows what she's talking about. So hit her up on the Instagram. That's probably the best way to find you, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then the Instagram is It's Coach Sarah.
Yes. It's coach.sarah.
Cool.
Yep, that's my
And
Instagram handle.
yeah, I've been loving the posts you've been putting out lately. You've been doing some really good stuff. And I appreciate your time. Thank you for taking time to educate people, because really it's not like we're doing this to make money, right? We're just
No,
doing this
yeah.
to help. Like,
Yeah.
this is a good thing for people.
Yeah.
And I really try to and want to spread good for people. And what you're doing is right along the lines of that. And so keep it up. So I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. I feel like you had mentioned it earlier, but like knowledge is power. And like I want to empower people to take
Hmm.
charge of their health, and you're not a bystander to your life. And so educating people on things that unfortunately I feel like our education system isn't throwing at us. Like if
Yeah.
you're older and you don't know about these things, this is a very important time for you to learn about as you're aging. So
Yeah.
I would love to be able to educate people, whether you're just someone who follows my account and gets some
Right.
info through that, or we have a couple sessions and I can just teach you about how to fuel your body, and then you go off on your own journey and flourish. Like I don't have to be a staple in your life forever. It's a temporary educational tool. So
Correct.
yeah, so I want to
That's
empower people.
It's a great way to put it. So, all right. Well, I hope everybody enjoys their weekend. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Sarah, for being here. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Have a great weekend. It's raining here, but it's still going to find a way to have fun. So,
Yeah.
Sarah, I hope you have a fantastic weekend as well.
Thanks, you as well.
All right. Adios.
Bye.